I only say yes if it's a heck yes. If it's not, I'm saying no. And that's something that I've had to continue to get better and better at because I naturally am a people pleaser, man. I want to make sure everybody's okay and happy. But one of the lessons I had to learn is every time you say yes, you're saying no to something else. Yeah, it's not an easy thing at times, but when you find that alignment, boy, it makes life a whole lot easier.
Guys, welcome my good friend JM Ryerson. Dude, what is going on, man?
Brother, I am just, it's been busy. I guess that's a good thing, but it's just, life is busy with my oldest son is back from college and he's going through the transfer portal. So that's taken up a lot of times, but that's kind of what's happening in my world.
I love it, man. Well, obviously, I'm getting a lot of things cooking on this side too. You know, it's funny. The last time I had a conversation, I think we instantly just gravitated toward each other, completely aligned. And I was thinking about that this morning before we hopped on. I was like, man, we had such a good conversation. I just kind of want to continue the conversation we already had in many ways. We spent a lot of time really focused on this core concept called alignment, at least for what we were doing. And I know you and I vibe there. I know it's part of Let Go Win philosophy, Let's Go Win philosophy. I know it's part of your DNA makeup. And, it's funny. I've recently discovered in order to speed things up, you have to slow things down. Mm. And I'd love for you to jump in there because your insights, man, we were jamming on that last podcast, man, was phenomenal. So the audience has to understand. And because it's where I'm trying to move the audience towards is this, this living from the inside out kind of concept. So tell me more.
Yeah, man. I mean, alignment for me is everything. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it just is. For instance, I built and sold 3 companies in the financial service world, and that was cool. Mm-hmm. But did it really fill me? Was it really did I jump out of bed the way I do now? No, I didn't. And didn't mean that I wasn't good at it. I was actually very good at it. Yeah. But it wasn't in complete alignment with what I wanted in terms of my family life, in terms of, my health, in terms of all these things. And so I think what's so fascinating for me, Stephen, is every single day I have to look at, or I choose to look in the mirror and say, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this in alignment? And really for me, it's coming down to, I only say yes if it's a heck yes, man. If it's not, I'm saying no. And that's something that I've had to continue to get better and better at because I naturally am a people pleaser, man. I want to make sure everybody's okay and happy. But one of the lessons I had to learn is every time you say yes, you're saying no to something else. Yeah. And my wife and I were just having that conversation this morning because I'm at this interesting point with my business right now. And it's man, I'm going to have to say no to a lot of things because I want this to be in complete alignment. I want it to thrive and be abundant. So yeah, it's not an easy thing at times, but when you find that alignment, boy, it makes life a whole lot easier.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I think you go through life seasons, business seasons, family season, all this kind of stuff. And part of me believes that you go through those different seasons because you're trying to find alignment. It's almost like the divine is trying to help you communicate, hey, this is what really matters. So if you want to have a business that's truly fulfilling, if you want to have a life that's truly fulfilling, you have to have the power of contrast, it seems to really appreciate one side or the other. So I'm curious, just because I'm a big believer in contrast, I would assume kind of what you just mentioned before is hey, I went and created these great businesses, I sold these great companies, which most entrepreneurs never do, not even one company, let alone 3. But I'm not happy. I'm not aligned, right? Was there a catalyst moment, a pivot moment where it just it was almost thrown in your face that, hey, something had to change? Because I find that entrepreneurs and business owners and leaders all the time, they get super close and then they pull back right before they're about to tip into alignment.
Yeah. So for me, what happened to truly find what I call my purpose, my alignment, was I wrote the first book, Let's Go Win. And I actually wrote it we have 2 sons, 19 and 15-year-olds now. And the whole idea of the book was I wanted them to have a guidebook about the philosophies that my wife and I believe in case she and I were no longer on this planet.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was I wasn't going to publish it. And the gal said, man, you're selfish. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, if you don't publish the book and share it with more than 2 people, you're selfish. Okay, cool. So did that. And what I realized is now that I was so vulnerable, which is chapter 1 is literally
Yeah.
vulnerability. It just started to bring me to this place of holy cow, this is just a different feeling. There's not so much effort and resistance. It's just kind of flows.
Mhm.
And maybe an example I'm going through right now for me personally. I work out 6 days a week. I eat what I consider extremely clean, and yet I continue to put on weight. And I was like, what is going on? Went and had my blood done with my functional medicine doctor, and she
Mhm.
looked at it and was like, your kidneys aren't functioning the way they need to be.
Oh, wow.
So the point of this is my body was out of alignment. Even though I'm taking the supplements, I'm working out, I'm eating clean, something was out of alignment. And brother, in 1 week, because it's only been a week, I have dropped 14 pounds because my kidneys are now starting to function and get in alignment. And it wasn't radical changes. I took less protein that I was eating, and now I'm doing more of some grains I'd never ever heard of. And my point in saying all that is my body was out of alignment, and it wasn't a matter of effort. I was putting in the effort, brother. There's no more I can do. My body was just
Yeah.
like locked up. And that's what I see happen with business owners and entrepreneurs all the time is it's not necessarily a lack of effort. It's just
Mhm.
something's out of alignment.
Yeah. I would actually say it's almost too much effort. One of the things I've been a very big proponent of recently that is like hustle culture must die.
Mm.
Like this element that by sheer activity you're going to become successful rather than focused intensity. And I love the fact that you brought up the mind body connection because I'm public with my audience. I'm on a supplement that's it's a testosterone supplement. So in 2017, I went through a radical business reversal, suspected embezzlement scenario, and all this kind. And my cortisol shot through the roof. I jumped back into business. 2 years, barely saw my family, and my testosterone got toilet. Like it was trash. And I think it was probably a little bit. And I put on a bunch of weight really fast. And I'm somebody like you. I work out all the time. I try to eat clean for the most. I do the occasional cookie because I'll do like cookies. But now I discover the Built Bar Puffs. But so I kill two birds with one stone: eat fun and eat good. But during that season, I was wrapped up in that same kind of thing. Like my body wasn't functioning, and what I realized was because my body wasn't performing at its optimal level, it was influencing how my brain operated. Like my mental acuity began to struggle. Lo and behold, I went and did an extensive blood panel and found out about my testosterone. I found out about cholesterol. I found out about all these different things. And I'm a I don't like pharmaceuticals personally. Like they're kind of like, it's like a only if I absolutely teetotally must, and that's after I've tried other things kind of thing. Fortunately, I'm in a position where good friends with Gary Brecka, and so having Gary in your corner is like, well, are you getting sunlight? Are you getting your feet on the grass? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And to your point, I mean, I took a few supplements that are all organic, all natural made, and my body now digests proteins. Most people don't understand that their primary reason that they're struggling is because their body can't actually metabolize or methyl. I think he calls it methylize
Yep.
the proteins, right? So I say all that to say that I'm with you, and that's one of the reasons I think I'm so happy you brought it up, and why I wanted to chip in here a little bit because it is a active part of my lifestyle as well, in trying to make sure that we're like really trying to optimize for, I would say, longevity. I wouldn't even call it performance. Right now, I got the benefit of looking lean and stuff like that, but at the same time, like it's actually because I want my mind to function, right?
Well, and even from an energy standpoint, I woke up yesterday and I swear to you, brother, I'm 47 now. I felt like I was 25, 21,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize it had been a decade. And I kid you not, brother. Yesterday was one of those days where I was electrocuted. And I typically, people think I run pretty high.
Hmm.
I realized how much effort I was
Hmm.
having to do to go do all these things. Yesterday, it was so easy, and I was like, "What is happening? What I didn't realize I was lacking this energy. I was doing all the stuff,
Yeah.
but was I as sharp as I could have been? Was I bringing this energy? What blockages were present?" And my point is, it was because my body was out of alignment to
Yeah.
that work.
Yeah. Well, let's move from the body to the spiritual slash mindset. One of the things I did just before we got on is I woke up this morning, I did my prayer and meditation time, and then I went out into the green area here, sat on the ground in the grass, did another meditation. It's probably 10 or 15 minutes, I guess. Came back in, started getting ready for the show, and I feel energized. And I get you on the other end. It's like I can feel the energy coming this way, dude. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be really rock solid and cool. Um, what are your thoughts? And I know your thoughts, but I want you to talk about it. What are your thoughts on the inner man coming to the forefront, and how to bring that forward? Because I find a lot of men struggle with vulnerability. Like, vulnerability is a huge one, which I'm so glad that that's obviously the first chapter in the book. And also, they also struggle with connecting to the divine source.
Yep. This has been such a radical shift for me over the last, I would say, 5 years. Now, I've meditated consistently since my early 30s. And it's one of my non-negotiables. I'm going to meditate every single day. Cool, but the actual connection, the actual to source, it's still an ongoing process where my three non-negotiables that I won't miss are breath work, meditation, and yoga. It's
Mhm.
11 minutes of each. So there's 33 minutes of my sacred time that no matter what happens, I don't care if I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to hop on a flight, I'm getting up at 3 to get my 33 minutes in. It's just the way it works.
Mhm.
But that idea of connecting to source, to God, to universe, whatever it is that you subscribe to, it's one of those things that I think it's a personal journey. It's something that I've become much, much closer, and I've actually talked to God several times in my meditations.
Mhm.
Now, had you asked me in my 20s, that was not happening, man. I didn't have a great relationship because I was raised Catholic, and nothing against Catholicism. It's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. But for me, it wasn't in alignment.
Mhm.
When I finally just figured out that, gosh, it's not about a religion. It's not about, it's about finding your connection.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Gary Brecka, being outside, grounding
Mhm.
yourself, getting sunlight, getting some quiet time. That's how I've discovered my connection to source so much
Mhm.
better. And it's just an amazing thing.
Yeah.
It's obviously very hard to describe because it's
Yeah.
so personal to each.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an awesome, awesome process. And that's kind of my non-negotiables are those three things:
Yeah.
breath work, yoga, and I do meditation, but in my yoga, I do one for each chakra, one pose for each chakra is kind of my process.
Yeah. No, I love that. And here's, I guess, the one of my major takeaways for folks who maybe haven't discovered a connection to source, so to speak, or a connection to them. I would call it their high. You can call it your higher self, like that connection. But this was the most difficult one for me. It was like stillness,
Mm.
just getting still. And it's funny. It doesn't matter. I'm a person of faith, so I subscribe to the Bible. A lot of it stuff in there, and there's this phrase that my grandfather used to tell me as a kid. He said, "Be still and know that I am God." So be still, and then know the downloads. And I don't know about you, but in my stillness is where I get the downloads. In my stillness is where I get the innovative ideas. In my stillness is where I get the team member breakthrough. In my stillness is when I get the relationship connection. So has stillness played a role in your life? And if so, can you describe it?
Yeah, brother. I love this question, and here's why. So again, I'll go to the first book, Let's Go Win. I ended up discovering Let's Go Win. I was on a 10-day retreat, but 3 of those days I was out in you call it a silent meditation.
Mhm.
It was me, a tent, a gallon of water, and a sleeping bag. That's it.
Yeah.
For 3 days, there is no writing, there's no reading, there is just you and your thoughts and nature.
Mhm.
Well, guess what downloaded to me? This whole idea of Let's Go Win. Now, I go back, write the book. and my wife and I are moving from California to Florida at that after the book had come out.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Hey, can you go clean up the garage?" And I was like, "Sure." So I go, I'm cleaning up
Was
the
it like,
garage.
"Sure," like, "Sure, honey," or is it like, "Sure"?
Uh, oh no, it was like, yes, I guess I will. So I go into my memento box and I'm flipping through a journal.
Mhm.
Sure enough, from I want to say it was my junior year, there's Let's Go Win, the exact same logo. It's in black and white though. I wrote about it over 20 years ago,
Oh, wow.
completely forgot about it. And in that 3-day silent meditation, it came down like you wouldn't like, what have you been doing with this? And I had no idea that
Mhm.
I had written about this in my early 20s. So to your point, brother, it's changed my entire life.
Yeah.
It does on a daily basis. Whenever I have a real struggle or a challenge or something I want answered, I used to just go run around and do the
Yeah.
organized chaos activity. Now, it just happened, like I said, this morning, my wife and I are having a deep conversation, and it wasn't necessarily a pleasant one about some of the choices I'm gonna have to make inside this company.
Mhm.
Well, instead of freaking out about it, I just closed my eyes and I just went into what most would call a meditative state, and I asked, "God, this is my intention for today,"
Mhm.
and then I just received whatever came down. And, sometimes they're not answers that you wanna hear, by the way.
Not
That's
much.
that's the
Yeah. About
I think
50/50.
that's where yeah,
Yeah. About
that's where
50/50.
people are like, "Oh, I don't wanna hear the bad." That's part of it, man.
Yeah.
It's not always what you think you wanna hear, but it's probably what you need to hear.
Yeah, well, and I think it goes to the place of truth. The truth will set you free, right? So if you're really seeking, and this is something I want entrepreneurs and leaders to understand, because they're starting to see more of a shift in the stuff that I'm putting out as well, and even inviting amazing guests like you on is like I want people to fully understand the holistic approach to what it lives a life and build a business from the inside out and fully lived, like nothing on not and it's so interesting because obviously you sold 3 business. We could spend hours just talking about how to build and scale companies, right? And I find that entrepreneurs and leaders are that's the yes, I want that. I want to learn more about that. I'm like, yeah, but it's the inner person that's going to do all that. So if we don't like work on the inner you, the outer you is never going to perform at that level, right? So when we're talking about stillness and these downloads, like, for the average person, it may sound like I'm not sure. Like, I'm like, I'm telling you right now, from me, and that's why it's like they hear it from me. They're now hearing it from you. It's like, no, this inner world thing is real.
Oh.
It's real. And the other thing, and then I want you to speak on this. I'm gonna give you a word, and I can't wait to hear what you say about it. Because it's been resonate in my spirit recently. And because I feel like entrepreneurs and leaders they go through a lot of births and redeaths,
Mm.
right? They're constantly if they're doing their work, the inner work, and they're becoming the highest version of themselves, and really trying to maximize themselves in their business and teams and all. They're going through life and death cycles constantly. I know I've been through I think 10 of mine that I can think of where I'm literally a different Steven than I was the last time and the time before that and the time before that. And the word is redemption.
Mm.
Redemption. I feel like there's so much guilt and shame that we carry as people that we won't let ourselves reinvent ourselves because we won't let ourselves become redeemed. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I have taken something from Lao Tzu and I've simplified it. I say it to myself all the time. Past is pain, future is anxiety, and present is everything.
Mm,
So to your point with redemption, there is not a darn thing I can do about what happened in the past. I don't have a time machine, Stephen. And maybe you know of one. I'm not familiar with one. I cannot go back and change it. And even myself, I will find myself thinking, oh my gosh, again, this is so poignant because my wife and I are talking about this.
yeah.
We have invested and put so much into this particular thing that it's like, but I need to see it through. Well, actually, no, maybe it's just not the right decision. Maybe it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And any energy I spend on whatever we did in the past is wasted. Here's the other crazy thing. worrying about what's going to happen 6 months from now, a year and a half from now
Mhm.
is complete wasted energy, and I do it all the time. I don't like it, but I'll wake up. Literally, I'll wake up in a panic and go, I am literally thinking about what's gonna happen in the future.
Mhm.
When I'm able to just stay present, that idea of redemption falls away because look, all I can do in this moment is give 100% to Steven and his audience. I'm going to give everything I have.
Mhm.
And then when I go to my next thing, I'm going to give everything I have. What I've found is fulfillment when I do that.
Mhm.
But when I'm in my head thinking about, oh my gosh, whatever I did in the past, these mistakes, or oh my gosh, what if I don't do this? What if?
Yeah.
Brother, I can't bring any gifts to the world. So when you say that word, that's exactly what I think of is how can I just stay present? And I can't worry about what I did in the past, and I certainly can't worry about what's gonna happen. What can I do right this second?
Yeah. No, I love that. In fact, it made me think a little bit about it seems like you can set an intent for a future date, but if you're not operating in the present moment, then you're gonna have the anxiety and the fear and all the things that kick into that, you know? Man, that's so interesting. It's funny, I was telling the audience, all your books are phenomenal. Like, everything that you do is all your content, everything you put out is phenomenal. That's why it's so hard to select, what, one lane to go down, and then let's go down this lane. We do have enough having an 18-hour podcast. Um, I'm gonna ask you a question as a brother, as someone who I believe is, some would call it a light worker, or like what you just whatever term you wanna use. You're someone who's actively trying to serve the world, and one of the things I appreciate about you is you don't have to. It's and we could position it to the get to concept, but it's for this is something you do because you're actively trying to make the world a better place, right? Um, this question is for you, right? So you get to choose where you want to go with it. And that is, what is one thing on your heart that you've been dying to talk about that you have not yet shared with the world?
Wow, that is a big question. Gosh, I love the get to idea because that it's true. You know what I would say? Here's because you mentioned light versus dark.
Mhm.
I've made a lot of money in what I would consider more of the dark area, and
Mhm.
it was so easy, Steven. My goodness, it was easy. And yet what I would tell you is it wasn't it I wouldn't change anything doing the work I'm doing now. And my point to that is like sometimes working in the light world, I don't know about you, but it feels amazing. But that doesn't mean that, man, it's just crushing it financially. In fact, many of my endeavors, no, I'm losing money.
Mhm.
But this feeling of like, oh, it just feels so good. And to serve people in a different way, in a way that truly is just a benefit to them.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something that I guess I don't talk about really ever.
Mhm.
And it wasn't that what the companies that built were bad. That's not the point.
Mhm.
But I knew I wasn't in alignment, and I knew it wasn't really, in my opinion, what I was put on this earth to do.
Yeah.
I was good at it, made a lot of money at it. Okay, but gosh, it just wasn't fulfilling. So
Yeah.
I don't talk about that very often. So I guess that would be on my heart. The other one was what I already brought up about the health, because I'm telling you, man, I yesterday was one of those days I just want to put it in a bottle and be like, never forget that feeling
Yeah.
because holy cow.
Yeah.
But I think a big part of that is through this doing the light work, which by the way, you say light, that doesn't mean easy, by the
No,
way.
I mean, it actually means the opposite 90% of the time. Yeah.
Right, and that those moments of stillness where people are kind of like, "I don't wanna do that." I get it. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes facing our demons or listening to our inner critic or our thoughts, that can be really scary, but I'll tell you what, every time you do it, it's so worth it.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man. There's so many different lanes I wanna go down with you. Let's do it this way, because we've been talking about we'll call it the inner man, but it really means the inner person, right? Male or female. A lot of we have our audience is 60-40, right? It's mainly female and or males, which is kind of which is an interesting dynamic, actually. Um, and so there's a part of the energy that states, hey, look, I'm kind of jamming. I feel this call to be more of myself, or more of my true self, right? And there's also the other side of each of the light and dark. It's like, no, but we need to make money. We need to get a house. We need to be able to do this and go do that and whatever. And at least for me in my journey, like all of that really what I would call forcing, right? So my first company that I built and sold and whatever, and that I get quote unquote credibility about was a very painful journey,
Mm.
right? Now it produced all kinds of fruit that now allows me to do like you, it allows me to do things that I want to do versus quote unquote have to do or need to do. But in that same part of that journey, I think there's this component of understanding that nothing is wasted. So can you go back in your journey and see that everything that you've experienced so far, it's actually, even if it was painful, was actually a massive blessing for where you are today? Because I feel like people, including myself back in the day, would like really, it's like, it's almost like lead you to victim thinking versus leading you towards something amazing.
Yeah, when you say that, there are two great examples for me that they were painful as can be, and yet they're some of the greatest lessons I can ever have. The first was my wife and I were separated for almost a year.
Mm,
And if you were to ask me in that moment, there is no way we were about to celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary, but there's no way you could tell me we would be married today. No possibility. And I remember in that moment, brother, looking in the mirror and going, at the point, I was the victim. She
mhm.
was this and that. And I finally had to look in the mirror and go, look, bud, you made just as many mistakes and choices. You gotta own that piece. It was so painful to not have my family full time because my boys and my wife are everything, but
Yeah,
my boys not having them every single day with me,
yeah.
no, that didn't work. And it is a lesson that I don't think I'll ever forget. It's a level of perspective that I appreciate. But I had to look in the mirror and say, where are you screwing up?
Mm,
And the truth was I was way too involved at work.
mhm,
You talk about the hustle culture, man. I
mhm.
was 100% rise and grind, and I'm just going to go
Yeah,
just, all the way every day. And it was so focused on the business that I forgot what I'm even doing it for, which
yeah,
was my family.
yeah.
That one was one of those moments that I'll never forget because again, I look at it, we're separated. I was almost 300 pounds at the time. My health was not great. I was definitely drinking way too much. And it just wasn't a great time, even though financially from the outside looking in, you're like, well, this guy's making 7+ figures a year. Everything looks great. And it was just a sham, man. Everything wasn't great other than financially.
Mhm,
And the other one is lose my dad.
mm,
The way I lost my dad was pretty tragic and sudden. And what I would say is it's awful and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. And yet I have a level of perspective towards life
mhm.
that you cannot buy.
Yeah,
And I appreciate every single day on this planet because of that. Now, again, I don't wish it upon anyone. And yet in those moments of just agony and pain and misery, there's a lesson to be learned there if you're willing to see it. And I know it's hard to say, man. It's hard for people. They're going through it. They're going through whatever they're going through. And it's like, really, JM, you want me to see the lesson? Yeah, man. If you can, just know that it's there. There's a download, but you gotta be willing to see it. And it sucks to go through it. I'm not saying it's easy.
yeah.
But if you can find the lesson, it's definitely worth it.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the show. Steven Scoggins here. I've got something that I think is absolutely going to blow your mind. Imagine taking your life and your business to the whole another level. I'm talking about an 8-figure level and beyond. You see, you've been working your butt off to build your business to where it is now. But what if you could work smarter, free up more time, make more money and impact along the way? How much would that be worth to you? You see, I can prove that basic steps, basic mindset shifts, and subtle changes can make the biggest difference. I want to introduce you to the 8-figure mindset makeover. It's absolutely free and it's here for you. It's a powerful summary of my top strategies that help propel me from the streets, if you will, to upwards of 9 figures and quote unquote success as we like to chase it. This is more than just tips though. It's a complete mindset overhaul with simple hacks that you can apply today to begin working on your unprecedented heights in your own business. I would like the honor to share these types of things with you that turn my dreams into reality so you can experience the same type of joy and freedom that I now get to live out in my own day. In other words, it's time for you to build your own unstoppable enterprise. And if you're really ready to take it to the next level and elevate your life and your business, this is an absolute game changer for you. So if you want to take advantage of this free resource, simply go to the show notes and click the link, or you can go to stevenscoggins.com/8-figure. That's stevenscoggins.com/8-figure. Until then, much love. God bless. Let's get back to the show. Take care. A lot of us are going to have life upheavals, right? And I feel like the first thing that happens when you have a life upheaval is, it could be a business reversal, it could be a relationship, it could be a number of different things. The first thing that happens is that you immediately want to resist it.
Mm.
And at least for me, the only way it really works is if I really lean into it. To your point, I go in and say, okay, where's Steven? Where's Steven in all this? You know, do I have no responsibility, partial responsibility, full responsibility? Is this really mine? Like, you know, is this a Steven thing, or is this a them thing and they're working through their own inner world, that kind of thing? But you just talked about finding the lesson. And I'm a big believer that there are certain times and places that you can't find the lesson without going through a specific gate, right?
Mm.
Going through some of the things that you just described. And I also believe that there are two ways that we can learn lessons for ourselves. First is through our own experiences, our own pains, and the things that we would go through, joys, perspectives, all kinds of stuff. And the second is learning from other people that have already been through that journey that we haven't had to yet walk through, right? That's the whole premise behind the guide and the hero's journey is, right, there's the guide's already done that, right? And it's coming back in to kind of help the hero. What is one lesson per experience that you just shared that you would only have discovered by going through those two different gates?
Yeah, so the first one, I'm not a victim, and I am a victor, and it's really a choice at the end of the day. Like, everyone has their woe is me story,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately you get to choose that you are a victim or you are a victor. And we actually do it all the time, little micro moments. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to choose to be a victim or a victim. And in that moment, the first one with my wife, I was not a victim.
Mm-hmm.
I 100%, thank God she chose to fight for our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really the catalyst to get it started. But it was some of the things she said to me, I had to internalize, look in the mirror and say, dang, you know what? She's right. I could have easily just said, "What, you're this and that," and just got
Yeah.
defensive. But instead I said, you know what? What do I want? I want my family. I want to be happy. So I just had to take it on the chin and say, you know what? You're not a victim, man. You choose to be a victor. And that meant getting up, getting to the gym, getting working. That started with the body, and then it all came to fruition. The second one, gosh, the second one, it really is just knowing how precious every single day is.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't valued every single day the
Yeah.
way I do now.
Yeah.
And even you know, I even have on my bathroom mirror, keep perspective, and in the quotations it's Dick Fong, who's my brother-in-law, who's passed away at the age of 49,
Mm-hmm.
and then my dad passed away. And the reason I put that is they would love to have whatever problem I'm going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have they don't have that choice. They're no longer here.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter how bad it feels like, just know that somebody wishes they had that. Somebody that's no longer here. And so that's when I'm dealing with the stuff, the painful stuff. It's like you almost just want to say thank you and be like,
Mm-hmm.
all right,
Yeah.
this too shall pass.
Yeah.
You're strong enough to overcome it, and just know that somebody wishes they had this problem. So kind of look in the mirror and let's get going, man.
Yeah.
There's no reason to wallow in your sadness.
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that because there's a scriptural reference that says there's beauty for ashes.
Mm,
And one of the things I've often trying to communicate to the audience, whether I'm talking one on one to somebody or on the stage or doing whatever, is this concept of lean in. If you lean into it, you get the beauty for the ashes. So you're going through the ash phase, you're going through the difficulty, you're going through the. My friend of mine would call it the crushing. Right. I remember I was doing the night before I was doing a 3-day live event. This friend of mine walks in after to the event the following day where I just found out the night before that there was likelihood of a bit of an attempt at a hostile takeover and all this kind of stuff. So I was wrecked. I didn't see it coming, completely blindsided. People moving for 12, 15 years, long term. And I remember forgetting her name was Dee. She goes, "Honey, oh no, honey, you can't. No, don't go into tears, honey. Don't do that." I'm like, well, I'm, a, I'm. She's like, "Oh no, this is the cost of the calling. You can't go to where you're supposed to go without going through here."
Mm.
And that's clearly that stuck with me because that's 2017 when that conversation took place. And then I can overlay that with the rest of my life, and I'm like, man, I've been through 10 of those at different points where I thought the entire world was caving in and had to and question everything. But it was in those questionings that I began to discover the inner man and kind of like work through stuff. And I've found that um, the reason that tension is so, I guess, has so much tension is because the ego is trying to protect you, and it thinks by trying to protect you that it's, and meanwhile there's this other element of yourself that like says, no, this is good, for us, like, so there's that tug of war between the two. And what I've heard you even describe, even in those two examples, is there was a little bit of a death of an ego and a picking up of a spirit man, if you will, which I absolutely love because that's kind of my world right now. And in doing so, based on what you said, like even using the relationship example first, you guys went through a storm. You guys both changed, both developed, both evolved, and now your marriage is more beautiful than ever.
Yep.
And you have this new perspective for your dad and his life and kind of what the meaning of life is because of that moment. So that has its own beauty. Maybe if you don't mind, maybe express some of the beautiful moments that come out of the other side. Cause I really want to encourage people to stop resisting the change instead of just like, let's open their arms and say, okay, I'm here for it. Like I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's and what I wanna say to everyone is I'm not suggesting it's easy, right? And that's
Neither
I
of us are.
do I
Yeah.
appreciate that. The gal that's looking at you saying, "Oh, honey,"
Mm-hmm.
all you really are saying, "Just come give me a hug, lady, because I'm hurting, man. This
Mm-hmm.
sucks."
Yeah.
So, let me just give the context. So, I lost my dad to suicide 3 years ago,
Mm.
okay? He's my hero. He's one of the closest human beings I'll ever have in my life. And again, I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. I want him back every day. But that level of perspective for how much I love and appreciate and find joy in life, I couldn't, I don't know if I couldn't. I never received that until after losing him the way I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, man, it's one of those things where I know in that moment it doesn't feel good. It feels awful and you wanna blame and you wanna
Mm-hmm.
ask you want questions answered that unfortunately you probably never will have answered.
Mm-hmm.
But you said this word season before, and I think it's so important and I talk about it all the time. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of who they are, whether it's for a reason or that for that season or for that lifetime, grab a hold of it and just love every moment of it while you have it. Because as you mentioned, you came onto my show and I was like, oh, dude, whether he knows it or not, he's in my life for a long time. Like,
Ain't that the
just
truth?
there's
I was
a
actually I'm already picturing. I said JM's going to be at the retreats. He's going to be teaching at the retreats I'm going to put on. Yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense because it when you see that opportunity, and again, if it's a lot of men listening, and this is where most men aren't willing to be vulnerable and be like, "Hey, dude, I'm really attracted to you," not in that way, but like,
Yeah.
as I
Brotherhood.
just feel this, yeah. And by the way, I don't find that very often.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I've met some people that are great, but Steven to me is not a reason. He's at least a season, and he may be a lifetime guy because we're so aligned. There's that
Yeah.
word again.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I would say is just when you see the opportunity, don't be afraid to just go grab it
Mm-hmm.
and just put yourself out there and just know that, yeah, you could get burned. Yes, it could be scary being vulnerable, but just it's so dang worth it.
Yeah.
And so those are just some of the things that I wish again with my dad
Mm-hmm.
specifically the reason being vulnerable is so important to me is what if I had been able to get him to open up about
Yeah.
what he was really
Yeah.
going through?
Yeah.
And I didn't. I didn't. I don't have that chance, and that's that is what it is.
Yeah.
But now that burns my desire to help others, so
Mhm.
they never get to
Yeah.
anywhere near that point.
So there's more fruit. It's I'm so glad you mentioned 'cause, I'm gonna talk to the men for a minute, and then ladies, just be patient with me because I'm gonna bring it back together. Um, I've discovered that when men will let their guard down with other men who are already in a very healthy place or very grounded space, some would call it divine masculine, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. It's a presence, right? It's like I don't need anything from you, you don't need anything from me, but I'm here to hold space. I'm here so you can take off your armor, put your armor on the ground because at least as for me growing up, all the way up until a little, I'm 49 now, almost 50, and I think it was just up until the last 3 months that I felt like it was safe to take my armor off from time to time.
Mm,
And not show up with, like, this heavily weighted armor because, I've been fighting battles my entire life, right? And I find that men specifically struggle with that because I think with one, at an early age, we're taught, "Hey, you gotta be the knight in shining armor, you gotta slay the dragon by yourself." Like, we're taught isolation early, right? And I find that to being a bit of a difficult thing. So yes, when I come across another brother, it's like, no, it's actually really cool to be healthily grounded, healthily aligned, and understanding regulation and understanding how to you don't need to respond, you don't need to react, you don't need to like show up with huge presence of ego. You just need to show up as you, like the authentic you. Like I find that is it's very refreshing and encouraging to men, even though they may not admit it right offhand.
mm.
Like, there's men watching and listening right now who were like, "Dude, I'd love to take my armor off. I'm so exhausted. I've been fighting. I'm fighting and I'm fighting at work and I have to come home and fight at home and I'm exhausted, right?" Meanwhile, and I've discovered this in my relationship life, when you do become a more healthy, grounded male that's not isolated, has the ability to be vulnerable with respect and stuff like that, it's almost like at least the female is very attracted to that. It's not like you're losing your pursuit of your mission or your goal, right? It's just that you're creating healthy polarity, and that means the female oftentimes, and I'm using this in general terms, because I think both male and female can go out and kick butt everywhere they want to, or anywhere they want to, but that healthy polarity allows the other energy to relax, right? And when I hear you, even when I'm hearing you kind of even mention and talk about your relationship a little bit, that's exactly what I saw happen. Like the energy, both your and her energies were able to relax, and as a result, they created polarity, and polarity pulled you guys back together, and now you can talk to the one person, right, that nobody else can really talk to about what you're going through as a man, and that's the person standing beside you.
Yeah, brother. The I hope every both men and women heard that, and I hope they embrace it because it is a lot of work to whether you armor. I
Hmm.
call it the mask, right?
Yeah,
Like masks are meant for parties, they're not meant for life. But if you
yeah,
keep holding on to that, it's really heavy, man.
yeah.
And it spends so much time and energy trying to be something that you're not. And here, the best example I can give, unfortunately, is like I was taught boys boys don't cry.
Hmm.
It's terrible freaking advice, by the way. It's
Yeah,
absolutely it's ridiculous,
yeah.
but that's what I was taught. And like, I'm not suggesting you should go out there but I was watching a TV show last night and this man had his daughter come cuddle with him and I'm just like, "Pfft, forget about it." Like it's I'm crying. And I guess the point is if you can just be that free,
Hmm.
how much easier is it to go through life, man?
Hmm.
It's just so hard to try and look a certain way, act a certain way,
Hmm.
stuff it all down. Well, what's going to happen if you keep stuffing? Eventually, that thing's going to blow like a volcano of chaos, and it's not great. So I hope people heard what Steven said, man. Because yes, take off the armor. It's you're going to save so much time, energy,
Yeah.
and effort just being able to show up as you. It's just such a cool thing.
Yeah, dude. I got one more question. We're almost out of time.
Yep.
But obviously, time flies every time we get together. We get connected. Um, that just had me think of something with what you just described, and I feel like this is a subconscious control mechanism, and it's called judgment. It's the fear of being judged. how much lighter would life, business, relationship look if you didn't have a fear of being judged in any way, shape, or form?
Mm. I mean, look, here's the truth of it. You have zero control over what anybody thinks about you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So why spend any time or energy on it?
Yeah.
Right. And I understand it, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to be liked. People want to be liked. But
Yeah.
if you have zero control about how somebody actually thinks or feels about you, why spend any time on it?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to judge. I promise you. There are people on this planet that thought Mother Teresa was evil.
That's
That's pretty
fine.
hard to say,
Yeah.
but it's true.
Yeah.
So if she did all this great work and yet is still being judged, is
Mm-hmm.
still being hated on, why would you think you're going to be any different?
Yeah.
We're not special in that regard. So just know some people are going to love who you are, some people are indifferent, and some people are going to loathe you.
Yeah.
And that's okay
Yeah.
because you're not their cup of tea, and that's totally okay.
Yeah. I think the only thing I'd piggyback on that, because that's such a good advice, is if your intent is to continually develop and personally grow yourself, become more in tune with yourself, become more aligned, because the huge part of the show has been about alignment and the importance of it. Like, you can go and do twice as much in the world with less effort by being fully aligned. Period. Mic drop. That's it. Right. But there's also this concept of the intent is there. So it's like, don't go to, from my perspective, don't go and try to become something to make someone like you. Instead, become the truest version of yourself, and the right people will find their way to you.
Mm,
Just like you and me, bro. Like, we didn't know each other, what, a month ago.
right.
And this is the second time we've hung out in a couple of weeks. You know, it's like, and now I'm like, yeah, JM's going to be at the retreats. I'm going to have him teaching. I know I am. Like, I've already got that stuff in the back of my head and stuff, and just for different connection points, you know, for that same level.
Yeah, and we are energetic beings. Like, this isn't woo woo. This is literally, we are energetic beings. And one of the things I say every single day is, I am the energy I desire to attract.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, people like Steven didn't come into my life by happenstance. It was like,
Yeah.
no, I am putting this energy out there, and that's what is being attracted back to me. Again, I'm not a victim.
Yeah.
I 100%, I am attracting whatever is coming to my life. It's on me.
Yeah, dude. I love you, brother. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, man. We got to do like more and more and more. Is there any final words you want to share with the audience, or where can everybody find more about you? We'll put everything in the show notes, of course, but
Yeah, no, brother, I just thank you. First off, thank you for the way you show up and being so vulnerable. Let's go win. That's
yeah,
If you look up Let's Go Win, you're going to see my face, and I love connecting with people, inspiring people to live their best life.
yeah.
I guess that's what I would say is, don't be afraid to just put yourself out there. Go. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful life, but just play full out. Don't play small, man. You are worthy of it. So I just hope everybody can go play full out and have an amazing life.
Love you, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brother.
I'll take you there. I hope you liked that video. And if you did, make sure you check out this next video right here.
Unless you protect your own personal mental health, you cannot give to others. And so if there's someone in your life who is chronically bringing you down, bringing your energy levels down, I didn't know that we have control over that.